Hello there, welcome to a review of Tenet. I know I haven't been doing episodes this week. I've just had a little bit of a break. I'm back next week. But the plan is to do some more True Idiots videos this week to shoot them, and hopefully they'll be out pretty soon. But I did manage to see Tenet at one of the emptiest cinemas I've ever been in. Now, I live far away from the main centre of cities around. I live in a very small area. I went in an afternoon screening with a friend and there was no one there because, well, the local way, here's the story. We tried to go yesterday to see Tenet because we thought we'll go when it's going to be quiet, which is an afternoon show, and because it's a small area, you know, it's very limited, they're not really going to expect much anyway. So we went then, the website said 2:30. Went 2:30, turned out the film started at 2. So the film already started, so it was not really worth going in if you only missed the first 15 minutes of the film. So we went back home, very annoyed. I was very stressed about the whole thing. Went back today, proper time, were the only people there. So we went to see Tenet, and actually it was quite nice to sit in the cinema with ourselves. It kind of made up for yesterday. It was quite enjoyable just to watch the film and not anyone snacking or anyone talking. You just could watch the film. And it was a good fun film. It's a really enjoyable experience. I mean, it's kind of weird to be back at the cinema. It is very paranoid-inducing. If like me with anxiety, your mind goes haywire. I'm glad I went to see this film in the cinema where it was really empty to start with, to ease myself back in, because it's pretty nerve-wracking. And yeah, even going to the toilet and back, you felt very kind of paranoid and crazy. But it was good to be back, even though I'm not going to go unless it's that kind of situation where I'm going when it's not required, at least for the time being. The film itself really paid off. It really worked. You know, it's 2.5 hours long. It could have been we could have lost 10 minutes in little spots here or there. We just needed to tighten up slightly, I think. There was nothing that jumped out at you that needs to go. It was just like little moments here or there could have been lost and got the momentum going a bit more. It just feels like 2.5 hours was 10 minutes too long for this film. I think especially at the end where there was a lot of stuff going on, I think it was... I think they needed that last cut to trim it down a bit more and get to the point a bit more. But the story itself is fun, but it's not as ingenious as you probably think according to the trailers and from what the Christopher Nolan fanboys would probably hope for. Like, I think a lot of people thought this was going to be a new work of genius or something because time's going backwards and all the rest of it. It's like, it's a sci-fi movie, it's also a Bond movie, that's also like a Miami Vice episode. You know, you basically, you know, Nolan's he's a big fan of Michael Mann, obviously. And this film reminded me a lot of Miami Vice, the TV show and the film. This idea of kind of loners in this kind of noirish world that's no one can trust anybody, but you might have one or two people you might grow fond of, but everything's very dangerous. Kind of like an Inception where there was action scenes, but the relationships were much more noirish and twisted and damaged. Same thing here, but it's a bit more fun. It's more of a fun, like Frankenheimer 60s movie like The Train or something like that, where there is a serious subject matter, but they're also having fun with the actors a little bit and enjoying having these weird set pieces which aren't entirely realistic, you know. And the idea of time going backwards and going back and forward in time within a timeline, it was kind of reminiscent of the Stephen Moffat era Doctor Who. And if you've seen time travel movies like Back to the Future 2, which is a lot of time travel going on in it, that to 12 Monkeys where time twists and turns, you know, there's a kind of doomed feeling to the time travel. That's got that element to it, but it's also got a sense of humour that you don't always associate with Christopher Nolan. It is a bit more, it does look like he's having a bit more fun after doing stuff like Interstellar and Dunkirk. It seems like he's having fun with this one. He's enjoying himself a bit more, because I mean, Robert Pattinson does get funny lines in it, which is unusual for a Nolan film, because usually that's that's a Tom Hardy job, to have the funny lines. But Pattinson's really seems to be enjoying himself. He actually has more lines like that than normal in a Nolan film. So it is a bit more playful. I think it is genuinely more playful than before. And it does assume you've seen these movies yourself and you're following the plot and you kind of know that there's other movies in this area. It's not like trying to say this is the most newest thing ever. It doesn't ever try to do that. It actually is quite good in that it knows it's in a genre and it's not taking itself serious enough to get the plot moving, and it's also a sign of a director who is fascinated by the ideas, but it is enjoying itself a lot more than some of Nolan's earlier films. And it is a good time. It's a generally good time. The plot will probably confuse a lot of people, but if you're paying attention, you'll be able to follow it. You know, I mean, the setup is intentionally confusing to start with, but as you go on, you start to put the things together, and it makes sense by the end. The only problem I think there is sometimes the dialogue is a bit overshadowed by the background noise, and there's one scene where you explain why the villain's doing what he's doing. You can't really hear it properly. It doesn't ultimately matter, but I'd like to have heard his motivation, really. Because it was about a motivation thing, not a plot thing. But it would have been nice to hear it. But the action scenes are fun. They take the idea, they seem to be influenced a little bit in the pacing of it by the new Mission Impossible movies, where it's like every event is followed on to the next event, next event, next event. It's always it's an action thriller that's always going on and moving forward. The character stuff's going to be linked into the twists and turns and the forward momentum, which harks back to like what De Palma did in first Mission Impossible, and then what they brought back in the 2010 Mission Impossible. This kind of thing, forward momentum, noirish forward momentum, where there's a lot of noirish twists and turns, but it's an action movie. It is within that genre. It is a kind of genre that Nolan definitely took up on with Inception, but it's already there, and he's iterating again in this one. So it's a lot of directors who have a similar interest in my type of movie. You know, they'll do a little thing with it, but it is a genre piece. And it is a kind of film I like, that kind of stuff, like kind of noirish action movie. I think it works quite well, because I don't think you can get financing for an actual noir, but if you can tie it with some action and some weird imagery, I think you can get away with it in modern filmmaking. And I would say that Inception has bigger wow moments, but this one I thought was a more enjoyable film, probably to rewatch, because it's just more fun. It's quite enjoyable seeing the moments happen, and you've seen the logic behind them as they go on, and how it gets more and more inventive, because they add a situation, then they complicate it and complicate it again, but it's always to make sure you're always caught up in knowing what the rules are of the story. And there's time travel, and it works really well. It's really enjoyable how they do it. It's really inventive, and I think it's more tight of pace than Inception. Inception, I think, in the third act of Inception, it's so much to do. Then there was some action scenes I thought were a bit unnecessary. This one, I think the action scenes kind of have a bit more kick to them. That they're more fun, but I think the big thing is it is fun. It really is an enjoyable, fun movie. The acting's good. All the actors know what they're doing. Kenneth Branagh as the villain, he's good. He's kind of more understated than he can be. He has a few moments where he starts to roar a bit, but he's more threatening. He's more toned down than normal. Elizabeth Debicki as the femme fatale character who's got a hidden past that it has to be explored and explained. She's like the kind of heroine, and she's like the key to the whole thing, and it's like working out her motivations is the kind of key to the thing, really. David John Washington and Robert Pattinson are the two male leads, and they have a lot of fun. The good thing about them is I mean, it's Washington's film, really. He's the lead, he's the protagonist. Pattinson's kind of a sidekick who you're never quite sure you should trust or not. But he's a lot of fun, he's really enjoyable. He's having all the, as I said, he gets all the jokes. And he gets all the, just a lot of the kind of amusing side glances and all the rest of it. But him and Washington play off each other really well, and a really enjoyable pairing. It's like, put those two in a movie together again, because they work. They're a nice team, you know. And it just works. They're a nice duo, and they play off each other well, and that kind of helps to the fun idea of the film. It's like you've two leads who are an enjoyable pairing, because they've got a lot of the exposition together, and they've got a lot of the heavy carrying to do. So basically Pattinson plays it more humorous and Washington plays it more serious, and it works well because you get one carrying the weight of the drama and one carrying the weight of the exposition, and it just ties together nicely, and the logic as it comes together makes more sense as it goes. You start to see why things happen. Nothing in it will really surprise you, because it is influenced by other stuff. And it is not the most unique film, but it's a very enjoyable film, and that's really what we need just now, an enjoyable, fun movie. I think people were taking this one a little more serious than I was intended. I think everyone thought this was going to be a crazy time travel thing, that was going to be so complicated your head would explode. It's not. It's an action movie, noir thriller, with a time travel element. But it's an element. It's not the whole thing. And a lot of this stuff has been playful with it, and it's a playful film, and it's probably one of Nolan's most playful films, as he's obviously having some fun with it. So it's a very enjoyable film. I would recommend, if you feel good about going to cinema, this one's worth watching. It is worth watching. It is really enjoyable, and you're not going to get the same effect on the small screen. Like, it's meant for the big screen. You should go see it. It is really, really a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back soon with more videos. Bye for now.